Hey everybody, welcome to Cowboy Leather. I'm Scott. Today we're not going to make anything, we're just going to have a little chat. I've been getting a few questions on some of the things that I do and some of the things that I make. Like I got a question from somebody, how do I make my patterns? How do I draw them? How do I come up with the concept for them? I can pretty much answer that. I just kind of see it in my mind and draw it on a piece of paper. If it looks good, I take some measurements, bring it up to scale, and then I put it on some sort of cardboard or something like that to stiffen it up and go from there. Now I have been asked, what do I use for, do I use poster board, cardboard, or what? All I do is use snack cake boxes. They're about as thick as poster board. I eat the snack cakes. Instead of throwing the cardboard away, I turn them into patterns. They work pretty good, especially if I'm making a holster or something like that. Now, getting back to like wallets. I don't know if some people have issues with thinking about how to make one, how to draw one up, but to me, they're simple really to draw a pattern up for. If you're going to make a bifold wallet, it's pretty much a rectangle. Your card slots can go one of two ways, either vertical or horizontal. It's pretty simple. You got to figure out how wide or how big you want that wallet when you fold it in half. And you take your measurements to know how big you have to make it in order for it to be, we'll say, three. The wallets I make are basically 3 3/4 by 4 1/4 folded in half. So that would give you, let's see, off the top of my head, you'd have to make it approximately 7 3/4 long by about 4 1/4. Well, for your 4 1/4 wide is, tall, whatever wide. That's gonna be standard, whether it's folded or unfolded. And then I just go ahead and make the, the card slots. Some of them I use T-pockets. Some of them I just cut squares, put a notch in it, stitch it on, and we're done. They're pretty simple, pretty explanatory. But you can do basically anything. If you've got a pencil, paper, and a ruler, you figure out your measurements, or watch a YouTube video. There's plenty of people out there building wallets that you can pretty much get a general idea of what size they're cutting their leather to make the wallet. Now, if you're making a trucker wallet, well, or trucker wallet, biker wallet, whatever you want to call it. I usually make mine about 3.5 wide by about 7 1/4 long, and just put in the dividers and the card pockets, and that's pretty much simple. Like I say, ruler and a pencil. So, and I get other questions, what kind of leather do I use for making bags? It all depends on what what size bag I'm making. I'm making a shopping type bag. I'm making a tote bag. I'm making a purse. I usually try and stay 3 to 4. I don't usually go anything heavier than 5 or 6. And I use some of it, well, I shouldn't say some of it, most of it is Chrome Tan pull up, and I've started using Horween XL, and I'm finding that works nice, makes a nice looking bag, and it will hold a stamp if you want, so use a stamp on it. So, you have to basically know what you want to make and go accordingly. Anything you want to find or figure out, if you look on YouTube, somebody's already done it. If you want to see some really cool tooling, I've been asked that question, where do I get my tooling patterns? Some of them I just freehand draw. Some of them I'll go watch somebody like DG Saddlery. He does really nice work. And there's a couple other ones that, I can't think of his name right offhand now. But most of the tooling, if you look, like I say, on on the net, you can find tooling patterns. I think DG Saddlery has tooling patterns that he sells. Or you can go to Tandy and get a L. Stolman book. He's got there's a lot of patterns in that. To me, L. Stolman was like the godfather of Sheridan style tooling. He's got a lot of really cool patterns in it. And, if you want to get into tooling and stuff like that, I would say that'd be a good place to go. Get yourself a L. Stolman book. It's been a big help to a lot of people. I had one, but somebody needed it more than me. But just, if you want to draw a pattern, again, pencil and paper. If you're high-tech enough to have, what is it they call it, Adobe Illustrator, you can draw up a pattern on there. I don't have Adobe Illustrator, so I have to do everything by hand and pencil. You get a lot of questions on different things. I've had people ask me, where do I sell my stuff? Well, I sell on eBay. I've got several things listed, but one of the things I sell quite regularly, and I don't see many other people making them, except for one big company, but they make this item totally different. It's called a spud wrench holder, and they're used by iron workers, people working on structural steel and stuff like that. They look something like that. They got 3 tools. It's a spud wrench, got a point on one end with a fork on the other, and they usually got like a ratchet with the same size nut and bolt on it. They usually carry three wrenches. I make those, and I sell quite a few of them. They're handy. I've been making those now probably 7-8 years. I sell those on eBay. I don't sell on the SC or SD. I don't sell on there. The reason I say that is because if somebody sees something and asks, hey, where'd you get that? Well, I got an Etsy. I think this Cowboy Leather made it. That's giving Etsy, not me. I'm trying to build a brand. That's what you should be trying to do, is build a brand. You know, if you want to be known that you're making these and that's your design and everything else, you want to be this pretty much exclusive to you. And that's the name of the game. You find something that you're making that nobody else is really making, which is pretty hard. I mean, right now, everybody and their brother is making wallets, card holders, key fobs, and stuff like that. But everybody's selling them. But if you want to do something, you got to find a niche. Like, let's just say you think that there's a need or niche for, I've seen them a long time ago. In fact, grandmothers and aunts and whatnot, they would sit down, they would crochet this cover for the facial tissues that's put in the house. You know, I call them Kleenex, whatever. If you think that you can make one of those, or several of them, and sell them, you know, they make the long box, then they make the, I think there's 4x4 by so tall. And you make those and you trick them out with some tooling and, you know, make them look decent. Hand stitch them, machine stitch them, buck stitch them, whatever you want to do. And sell those. And you can get them selling. Then that is your brand. You know, you've created the market. There is nobody doing it. So now, oops, hey, I fell into this. Let me ride this pony as long as we possibly can until somebody else sees that you're making money or selling them. Then they jump into it. And then you go find yourself another product that not many people are making. That's what you call making a niche. But, you know, that's pretty much the game in the leather crafting. You find something that nobody else is really making, see if there's a market for it, and ride that market till it either dries up or somebody else, you know, copies your idea. You know, we're all copying somebody. You know, a long time ago, the guy I bought a lot of this leather equipment from, he said there was no original ideas. Leather has been around for thousands and thousands of years. You know, he said if somebody says, oh, I designed this, he says, BS. Because, like I say, you know, leather's been around. So, you know, leather thongs or leather loincloths are not, you know, nothing new. Because supposedly Adam and Eve used leather for loincloths and for clothing. So if you say, hey, I come up with this newfangled loincloth, nah, you didn't come up with that idea. That was somebody else's. You know, but I say we're all just using each other's ideas, and unfortunately, our ideas are getting away from us and getting out of this country and being made by foreign, and then turn around and sold back at a drastically reduced price from what we're asking for them. I mean, if you're making wallets, you know, I was watching YouTube one time, and this girl was talking about how she had come up with this idea to make this really cool jewelry, and it was miniature fruit and stuff like that. Well, she was selling it like hotcakes, she claims, and she was selling it at Etsy. Well, a couple months after she started making it, she kept getting emails from someplace, and it was out of the United States, she said, and she kept ignoring them. They wanted, they wanted to buy 25 of these and 25 of those, and she just kept ignoring them. Well, she said she was checking her sales on Etsy, and she saw this where it was going foreign. She checked that with what the emails she had, and they had bought her product through Etsy, and she said within 4 months she was seeing it listed coming out of China for, I'll say she was selling it for like, we'll say $25, and it was like 15 or 20 doing it that way. And I've heard that, it does happen. Somebody will be making a product, and all of a sudden, they're selling like crazy, and all of a sudden they're made someplace else, and they've cut that price way down, so your sales go down. So you got to be careful what you post, who you sell your ideas to, or give your ideas to. I saw, I think it was on, I can't remember where it was, but somebody posed the question, if somebody contacts you and wants to know if they can have your idea for making, I think it was wallets or something like that, and this person was asking, what does the group think? And 90% of the people said, if they want it, sell it to them. If they don't want to buy it, then don't give it to them. Because, I know what it was. This person was making, I call them trucker caps like this, and they were putting the fancy leather with tooling and stuff like that on them. Well, this person contacted the person that was making them and wanted to know if they could have the pattern. And, she didn't want to be rude, so she asked in the leather forum, and 90% of the people said no. If they want it bad enough, they'll buy it from you. Down the road, after you've made your money, if you want to, sell it or give it away. But, I'm on the fence on that. It seems you can go to a lot of different creators on YouTube, and they'll sell you that pattern. Every once in a while, they'll give you a pattern for free. It might be something they just come up with. It might be something that they've made and sold for years, and now they're just, they made their money, now they're letting it out. Me, hey, if I see something that somebody's making and they offer it up for a PDF, if it's something I think I want to make, I'll buy the pattern. If not, I move on. I don't think I've had anybody want any of my patterns, which, okay. But that's just, you know, some of the questions that I get, and some of the questions probably if you have a, you know, channel or communicate with a lot of people, you'll get them. You'll get a lot of questions. I don't mind chatting with people. I'll be friends with just about anybody. But, you know, it's, again, you know, a lot of people want to get into the leather crafting. That's great. I see people go ask in these different forums and whatnot, you know, where's the best place to get the leather starter kits, you know, the tools and stuff like that. And what I tell people, if they ask me, I'll say, figure out what you want to make and buy the tools that you will need to do that project. Because some of these starter kits, they give you stuff that you don't need. Number one, you don't need it. Number two, the tools are not as good as if you were to go out and say, let's just say you wanted to make something like this. Ruler, box cutter, X-Acto knife, copper rivets. So you'll need copper rivets. You need a setter. You need some rings and some leather. That's all you need. You don't need a whole lot of tools to make that. You know, a wallet. You need a straight edge, a knife, pencil, some glue, a couple needles, some thread, and you could put a wallet together. So you don't need all these fancy tools or tools that you don't need in a starter kit. And some of them starter kits are quite expensive. You can go in and buy just the basic tools from Tandy or whatever for less than $50 and have a good start. And then if you want to decide that you want to really get fancy on tooling or whatever, then you get yourself a swivel knife and some stamps and some shader tools and build from there. Because one or two things are going to happen. You're going to love the daily side of it because it's fun, or you start on it and you go, oh, I can't do this. I don't have the patience. So now you've got a good bit of money invested in tools that you'll never use again. And you'll have, you know, if you decide you're not going to do it, you can throw them in a drawer, or you put them on, you know, Facebook Marketplace or eBay or whatever, and somebody will try and beat you up on the price. So I think if you keep your costs down, if you don't like to do leather crafting after you've tried it a bit, then, you know, no harm, no foul. I had this guy, a couple months ago. He was following me here on YouTube, and after the pandemic and whatnot, he contacted me and says, hey, he said, I'm going out of business. I want to sell all my tools. He says, come buy me out. I said, I don't need anything. I've got everything I needed. Well, I think a lot of people during the so-called pandemic figured, well, hell, we'll just do this at the house and try and make a little extra money. Well, they bought all kinds of these fancy equipment, you know, your big sewing machines and everything else. And then they realized that they went back to work or whatever, you know, life happened, and they don't need it anymore. Well, sometimes they're lucky enough to sell the stuff off and recoup some of your money, and sometimes it just sits in the basement or in the garage collecting dust. That's why I say, you know, if you think you really want to start leather crafting, start out small, figure out what you want to make, buy the tools accordingly. And then as you progress, then buy better tools, give yourself a treat. Buy a better tool and just, build from there. Because really, this is, to me, is a fun hobby, which it started out as a hobby with me. I was a truck driver, heavy equipment operator, and I started into this, and I started making a little bit of money here. Well, I started making a little bit more money, so I buy a few more tools. Well, it's now turned from a hobby into a full-time business, and I'm enjoying the daylights out of it. It's fun. I meet people. Sometimes they're crusty, but generally, on a whole, they're pretty decent people. And the fact that, I've not pigeonholed myself to just doing leather work. I started out doing leather work, then I had an opportunity to buy a shoe repair shop that was going out of business. I bought his inventory, or his machines, and I started repairing shoes. And I still keep doing leather work. And I found a guy that, he was going out of business, he wanted to retire, so I bought his leatherworking equipment out. Well, I've narrowed some of that down because it was stuff that I didn't need. I had a lot of clicker dies for horse tack and stuff like that. So I had an opportunity to sell it, or per se, I traded it for a whole lot of leather. So, again, it's fun. You can make a little bit of money. And I just can't tell you anymore. It's fun. And, I will say one thing. If you can make it go as a business, again, you're not going to get rich. But what I did is I was working it when I started this. And I'd be doing leather repairs, shoe repair, and stuff like that. And I worked 3 to 11. I would just get into the shop and just get into fixing something or whatever, and I'd have to stop and wash up and go to a regular painting job. Well, things started in the leather end of it and the shoe repair end of it, things started picking up. I started making more money. And it got to the point where at the end of the week, I was making more through the leather and shoe repair shop than I was working for somebody else. So my wife and I, we sat down, we talked, and I said, for the next 3 months, if I can consistently make more per week than I am working for somebody else, I'm going to quit and make it my full-time job. She said, okay. Well, when I figured I was going to make, a little bit more than what I was making working for somebody else, as that 3 months progressed, I was making a whole lot more through the leather shop and shoe repair shop than it was working for somebody else. So, here I am, doing well, enjoying life, and I'm all boss. Well, excuse me, no. I got a little furry dog runs around here that He tells me when it's time to go to work, when it's time to go to lunch, and he tells me when it's time to close the shop and go to the house. And he tells me when it's time to give him his biscuit. So I tell people when they come, the customers come, he'll go meet them in the car and he'll walk to the door with them. He'll come in and they get all nervous. Oh, the dog's coming in. Yeah, the dog can come in. He owns the place because he pretty much does. He does what he pleases, comes and goes as he pleases. But he's my little buddy. So I don't want to make this video too long. It's almost time to close the doors, turn off the lights, and enjoy the weekend. So, like I say, you get a lot of questions. Sometimes I have answers. Sometimes people don't like the answers I give them. But that's all in the day's work, and it's my lifestyle now. And if you want to make money, you got to work at it. But don't make it a chore. When you start hating what you're doing, it's time to find a different line of work. I don't hate what I'm doing. And like I said before, I enjoy myself. I make a YouTube video once a week. Life is good. And I hope that there's something in this conversation that has struck a nerve or gives somebody hope. That yes, you can do this. And you can enjoy it. So, I'm going to say goodbye. And as usual, hope everybody has a safe week and has a good one. And we'll see you next week, Friday. Cowboys out. Bye.